Hi, do you know these four? Three politicians from Belgium, one French cheese. Can you see the link between them? No? Well, let me explain. A couple of years ago, I was conducting fieldwork at the TV newsroom of Belgium's French language public broadcasting corporation. I was there because they had announced that they would switch from dubbing to subtitling for foreign language footage. Now, I'd been there for a week or three, and unfortunately there hadn't been a single piece of subtitling to be seen. Until one late afternoon, out of the blue, one of the station's star political journalists came up to me and simply said, "Geert, on va sous-titrer." We are going to subtitle. In the following 48 minutes, the journalist, in close collaboration with a cutter, subtitled an 18-second Dutch language intervention in Parliament of one of the four you've just seen, his name Herman van Rompuy. At that time he was the Belgian Prime Minister. Right now he is the President of the European Council. Interestingly, all through the subtitling, the journalist was extremely aware of my presence as a researcher. At one point, somebody pops into the room and asks, "Premier jour du sous-titrage?" To which the journalist responds, "Pas du tout, c'est pour faire croire." So why was he doing the subtitling? Now, the Prime Minister's words were a response to criticism from opposition parties that the government was breaking down after a fallout between two of the coalition partners on TV the day before. The two are the ones that you can see here. Now, of course, you would expect interviews with the two who fell out and not the Prime Minister's words, which was kind of, it was uninteresting and improvised. But this is where the French cheese comes in. The station couldn't interview one of the two because he had been too much on TV already. This is a public station bound by laws which stipulate that the political parties get equal airplay. That's the camembert, the pie charts. So what happened was that the journalist was able to solve the camembert problem by showing the Prime Minister's intervention in Parliament, which he upgraded through the subtitling. This was exceptional. It had the effect of making the Prime Minister's words sound a lot more important than they really were. Now let me move to a bit of writing. After all, this is a panel on writing. Here you can see the opening of the news item, which was to be read live by the news anchor before the report starts. Now look at the last sentence, where you have an elaborate qualification of the Prime Minister's words. That's the upgrading that I was referring to. Also, je vous propose d'écouter. There's an explicit reference to the fact that the viewers will be able to hear the Prime Minister's voice, which is of course unusual in a dubbing tradition. Now, at a later stage in the writing process, the journalist inserts two more sentences where you get an indirect quotation of the politician who had been in the news too much already. And of course, this is another way of getting around the camembert conundrum. Here you can see the lines, they will be popping up in a second. Didier Reynders, that's a politician, était d'ailleurs présent. Selon lui, le fait qu'Elio Di Rupo, that's the other one, veut imposer une coalition est une preuve d'arrogance et de mépris par rapport à l'électeur. Now I guess I've shown it pays off to go backstage and to move into the dark hearts of the newsroom. We've seen the journalist's amazing competence to take the researcher's presence as a pretext for solving a tricky professional problem. The case I've presented can also serve as an introduction, however, to addressing some of the issues that Didier Fassin recently brought up in a highly recommendable paper called Why Ethnography Matters. Fassin says that ethnography is especially useful in exploring A, the understudied regions of society, B, spaces saturated by consensus. So the question I would like to raise for our panel is, do we agree? And if so, or even if not, do we think the newsroom activity we all investigate is saturated by consensus or understudied? Now Fassin says that if your object is understudied, you should illuminate the unknown, you should go public. If it's saturated by consensus, you should be critical. interrogate the obvious. I would say that for our panel we need to do both. Illuminating the unknown implies reaching out to a diversity of publics, academia, the general public, and those directly concerned, in this case, the media practitioners. I would say a YouTube channel is a first step. Now, how to write? Reaching out also raises the intriguing question how to write, how to tell our stories, how to report on our ethnographic inquiries. Surely, I would say a pechakucha is a new way of writing or speaking, if you like, for all of us. Finally, Fassin argues that interrogating the obvious raises a question of who to write for, not in the sense of identifying our audiences, but in deciding, hey, what's happening here? In deciding whose side we're on. In my story about the camembert, I couldn't help feeling sympathy, or perhaps even better, admiration for the journalist that I followed on that particular day. I think he's shown amazing news-making skill and innovation. If we agree with Karen Wahl-Jorgensen that the production of political news has profound consequences for democracy, then I guess what I've talked about here constitutes evidence, however small, to start questioning the popular media malaise thesis. I'm running out of breath. I think I'll stop here. Thanks for your time. And do let me hear on YouTube what you think about this. Bye for now.